Welcome to an episode of InRange. We're coming to you today with 3 variants of the What Would Stoner Do rifle / carbine. So what do we got here?
We got a 14-7 with a pin and weld muzzle brake. We got a 16-inch with a comp, and we got a 20-inch with a muzzle brake. I'm a super gamer, so I got comps and brakes in all my guns, contrary to Carl's wishes. But
yeah.
We're out here to match, so that's what I'm shooting, and it's a good opportunity to get some data on all 3 barrel lengths.
Yeah, so we're reinventing the wheel here a little bit, but it's something that I think people forget about when they look at the AR15 as a weapon system, and not even the weapon in particular, but the cartridge that it's chambered in, of course, traditionally 5.56. And 5.56 in its original M193 55 grain was very velocity dependent. Not only from the purposes of what's called the ballistic coefficient, meaning its ability to beat wind downrange, but also its ability, if being used for combative reasons, for essentially sufficient wounding capabilities. Once you went below a certain velocity, you would do, there's a phenomenon called ice picking, and the round doesn't do what it should do. It actually just goes through the target versus cavitating after so many inches of transversal. Certain rounds have done better than that. Mark 262 improved that dramatically. That's the 77 grain ammunition. That one requires much lower velocities to still do to still perform with proper terminal ballistics. But what it boils down to is all 5.56 cartridges are velocity dependent for performance, whether it's for your accuracy and wind drift downrange or for combative purposes and terminal ballistics. So the original was 20-inch, right? And they were hitting the velocities they wanted to make this gun theoretically combat capable to 400 yards, let's say. The M16A2, of course, pushed it out with M855 to 500 yards as a maximum effective direct fire range. But as we saw over time, muzzles got shorter and shorter and velocities got less and less. But then again, in urban combat, it didn't matter because you were still achieving the minimum terminal ballistics. So what we're going to do today is we have this magneto speed. I've actually had this on the channel before. This is a really super cool chronograph that you just clip onto a pick rail. And we're going to get data readings for you from the 14.7, the 16, and the 20-inch with just what, standard M193?
Yeah, 55 grain PMC Bronze.
Okay, and then we're going to put that on the chart for you, and you're going to see how much of a difference of velocity you're going to get or not get based on which barrel length you use for your AR. This, of course, is not What Would Stoner Do dependent. These are just barrel lengths, right?
Yep.
But it is a What Would Stoner Do video. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with the 14-7 and work our way up.
Okay, let's do it. This is the 14.7 M193 55 grain. Go for it. 2934, 2872, 2863, 2888, 2868. So the maximum 2934, minimum 2863, average 2885, standard deviation 28.9. 16-inch M193 55 grain, 17th take. 2923. 2958, 2929, 2891, 2875. So we've got here a maximum 2958, minimum 2875, average 2915, standard deviation 32.7. 20-inch M193 55 grain, 3017, 3017, 3067, 3052, 3037. So the results is average 3037 with a minimum of 3013, maximum of 3067, standard deviation 22.9. All right, we're done, and we set out to prove what we set to prove. When we shot the 14.7 inch, we had a average of 2885. When we shot the 16-inch, we had an average of 2915, and with the 20-inch, we had an average of 3037. Those don't sound like a lot.
No, that really isn't. And I think in practicality, where we start seeing it make a difference is past 300 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the velocity drop-off starts making more of a difference, and your holds over to hit targets past 300 get increasingly more with the shorter barrel versus the long.
Or inversely, or to the same issue, the terminal ballistics decrease as well.
Right.
So the higher the velocity you start with, the more velocity you have at range when it strikes a target.
Right.
Right. So back when we started the What Would Stoner Do project long time ago, the optimal barrel length conclusion we came to was 18 inches. because it was the best middle ground between balance, control, and velocity. Because you see the difference between the 14.7 and the 20-inch isn't significant, but the 18-inch really, we felt like, hit all the buttons velocity-wise. But the 20-inch still has a reason.
Yeah, the main reason to go with the 20-inch is with a rifle length gas system, the 20-inch is more reliable because of the dwell time between the gas port and the end of the barrel. Rifle length 18-inch barrels, rifle length gas systems on 18-inch barrels tend to be a little more finicky with the pressures of ammunition they run reliably with, and also changing elevation and temperature where they run reliably.
So what you have is a smoother shooting gun.
Yes.
Okay. But if you're looking for purely optimal velocity and barrel length, it's probably 18. But really that 2-inch difference in terms of handling and in confined spaces isn't a lot.
Right.
Fair?
Yeah, and the other thing is, quite frankly, 20-inch barrels are more easily acquired commercially than 18-inch barrels, too.
Oh, of course, of course. And if you go with the right twist rate, you can use like 77 grain bullets, and that actually diminishes the amount of velocity you need at range to keep up your ballistic coefficient, as well as terminal ballistics if that's what you're worried about. So it can also be mitigated with ammunition choice. So hopefully you enjoyed this kind of little fact-finding exercise, although that's data that's already out there. But we wanted to show it to you with the What Would Stoner Do carbines. And these are all available through K-Arms now, right? So you can pick whichever one's appropriate.
Yeah, lots of customization options now. With the 14.7s, you can select a few different muzzle devices or send yours in to be pinned and welded. We have band state compliance options with muzzle devices and grip fins if you want it. Lots of Cerakote options, whether it's solid colors like this Elite Coyote or camo patterns, all from the factory.
And so I advise you get a 16 or a 20-inch and leave off the muzzle brake. Thanks for watching. If you like this stuff, consider supporting us on Patreon. Completely viewer-supported channel, doing the kind of stuff you can't really do as a result of having any type of corporate sponsorship. If you want to buy a What Would Stoner Do carbine, go check out K-Arms. Share with your friends.